Welcome to this Warden Starcaller PvP guide on Ascension. Wow, who I am and why I'm recording this guide. I am a previously reaching rank 1 Starcaller and player on an entire server of Rexxar, and I'm also having experience of 3000 rating in solo shuffle, 2.7 thousand rating in 3 versus 3, and 2.76k on retail 2s. I have come to this game and I spent about a week or so leveling with a friend. After that, I spent about a week getting to rank 1. And I figured out this class, and the spoiler is that this class isn't that great. However, if you do it right and you play without making any mistakes, and you put your 100% of concentration into your gameplay, you can beat even the best classes or meta classes in this game. So, I will begin by showing you my gear and my stats and how I build my character. After that, I'm going to move in and show you the talents. Then I will explain the quote-unquote rotation and playstyle of this particular spec. And to end this video, we will do some VOD reviews of the games I have managed to record from my grinding both before the season and during the season of Ascension. But for those who just came to quickly learn a TLDR of how to play Warden Starcaller, I'm going to show my talent build real quick and just say a few words. So here's the talent build, copy it, screenshot it, input it just like this, don't change anything. And to win, you press Avatar of Vengeance, Fan of Knives, and Astral Blade. Now, let's get into the real guide. Start priority will be like this. You always prioritize getting intellect on all of your gear. As much intellect as possible. This is because intellect increases your mana pool, which in turn increases the damage done by your spells. But it also increases your critical strike. And I have managed to get my critical strike to 24.33%. That is almost 1 in 4 chance to crit. When I enter an arena match, I have almost 9000 mana, and it increases my damage of Astral Blade. Intellect is better than spell power for Starcaller in general. I have done some testing with a friend, and the changes between intellect and spell power are like this. 1 intellect will grant you the equivalent strength of 2 spell power. And then it's always crit. Crit on everything, crit in prio, but I put a hit ring here. I could have gotten a crit ring, I have a hit ring because using just this ring caps you on the hit cap. Here is the build as I showed just before. I will go and explain all of these talents one by one, pretty much. The Warden tree on the right tree doesn't ever change. There is nothing to change. This is the best way, the most optimal way for this build to play. And in truth, there is really no other build that could grant you the same results. So there is literally nothing you can do. On the left hand side, however, there are some changes you could do. The bottom talents are not that strong. However, given that you wear a critical strike focused build, this talent pouch of Stardust increases the critical strike chance of your consumption of scattered stars by 10%. That means with my 24%, I have actually 34% to crit with my stars. And then because the games usually drag out and last for a while, Second Moon does add some damage to the breakdown. Now, you absolutely have to play Touch of Moonlight because this becomes an instant heal when used with Lunar Eclipse, and it also regens one of the charges when you do it with Touch of Moonlight, thus allowing you to quickly tap this twice because of the 8 stacks, but also if you quickly tap it twice, you receive 2 charges recharge, which means in 8 seconds you can press another Touch of Moonlight for free. Shooting Star is a sprint talent that I originally thought wouldn't be that great given all other mobility talents that you have. However, turns out Shooting Star is actually pretty good talent, and don't be deceived by the description that says 60% speed for 4 seconds, because Shooting Star has a trainer ranks which increases both its movement speed percentage and the duration. So in reality, Shooting Star is a 90% speed boost for 6 seconds, and you cannot be slowed during this period. It also breaks you out of any roots and slows, or at least those that are not bugged. Warden's Blade is another essential talent for the playstyle of this spec because it combines perfectly with the other aspect of the Cosmos and allows you to root the target for 8 seconds with a root that is physical and cannot be dispelled. And Infused Aegis is just a general overall great talent to have against anyone who could possibly challenge you in melee. It does cost a third of your mana bar though, so be a bit mindful when using this. Usually you need to find a way to immediately regen mana after using this. Then there are some general talents like increasing your intellect. Why wouldn't you? Increasing some armor based on your intellect, increasing the amount of stacks you can have with scattered stars, and increasing the lunar phase stacks to 4, and increasing your haste, increasing the effectiveness of your general buff, which is also important point for your build, so it gives you some more intellect. Going down to the middle, you receive damage of Lunar Lance by 50%, which is something you have to absolutely take. And this leads you right down into Star Shatter, your only stun, and that is unreliable and kind of bad actually in PvP. However, since it's your only stun and you kind of need it, you take it. Then you have this very important aspect here, aspect of the Cosmos, that you want to spec into and go into one additional stack right away, so that you can stack this slow that it speaks of here to be a 90% slow, stacking up to 3 times, so 90% slow. They can barely move. It's almost equivalent to a full root. However, this slow isn't as reliable in general because it only has a 50% chance to slow the enemy or reapply the stack on every attack that you do. This means you can, in theory, shoot a person for 10 seconds straight and receive 0 coin flips on your side, and thus the slow will fall off, which feels really bad, and this needs some kind of redesign or change or adjustment. This talent, the Stars Align, increases your mana pool by 10%. The higher the mana pool, the more the damage. Thus, you take this. Vial of Moonlit Water is a great secondary trinket that you're gonna have. It heals you as well if you have high mana, allows you to be immune to CC for 3 seconds, which is another great addition. Unfortunately, while Moonwell Water has a global cooldown, which doesn't make sense. This is also why having higher intellect and higher mana pool good for you, because even if you have 5000 HP, you're getting healed for the 25% of your current mana. You have 10k mana pool, you will be healed for 2500 HP, which is in this case half of your health bar by just pressing Vulnerable Tides. And it can also crit. And if it crits, you're just full health immediately. This talent here is also very important. It increases effectiveness of your aspects. Even though you are only going to play aspect of the Cosmos, this talent stacks with it and thus makes it better and greater. Reduction of harmful magical effects on you for 25% is a good talent to have. It reduces the duration of silences that usually kill you and other magical debuffs like slows and incapacitation or roots if some has that. You have reverse magic, which is generally can be seen as a warrior spell reflect on a way longer cooldown. Reduce magical damage taken by 5% is great. Here you have the talent where you can increase the range of Warden's Blade by 20 yards, which I find way better than the one that reduces the cooldown of Warden's Blade. This is because you want to be able to root your enemies from far away, so you can reconnect by running up to them, or you might want to root them from far away so you can just stay behind a pillar or stuff or not let them escape. Two bottom talents I already mentioned. Higher crit combines with your critical strike chance, thus giving this talent more value. And second moon, because of how long your usual 1v1s or 2v2s may last, does find its own value compared to other talents. However, you could spec out of second moon and put it into something like 10% here, or maybe Cosmic Duality. But this one, Pouch of Starlight, is definitely the better talent. You kind of have to pick Fan of Knives and Astral Blade, and Astral Blade will become your vital and main spell of usage on this entire spec. Everything in this spec builds around this particular spell. Lethal Pursuit reduces cooldown of Fan of Knives by 5 seconds, and this becomes a great ability down the line as you rank it up and get in some more talents for it. Here you get just flat increased damage by Astral Blade by 20%. Here the duration of Astral Blade increases by 7 seconds. That is the duration of the debuff that you apply to the enemies. Increases your damage dealt to the enemy by 15% for 12 seconds. Incredible debuff, actually. It's very unfortunate that all other spells don't do any damage. Hold is your blink, which stuns enemies for 4 seconds. You kind of want to take this because you don't really have a reliable interrupt, and you might want to use hold as a kick sometimes. Moonstone increases damage of Lunar Lance, which further stacks with the Lunar Anomaly, which now gives it about a 70% damage increase. Lunar Lance is way better than its counterpart Umbral Blade for two reasons. First of all is because Warden talents for some reason are also buffing Lunar Lance with some more damage percentage. The second reason is that Umbral Lance trainer caps at level 45, and Lunar Lance is also ranged, 45 yards range. That is a range that is longer than most spells in the game. Right down follows a talent that's called Mayev's Guard, which makes it so when you critically strike with Astral Blade, you effectively increase the damage of this particular Astral Blade by 60%. This comes in the form of 2 additional strikes with 40 and 20% more damage, but you can view it as that. If you crit, you crit really high. Vigil of the Watchers gives you 3% more critical strike chance, which you really want to take because this entire build is all about critting. Scattered Star damage has a chance to give you a free Astral Blade, which is a nice addition, and you kind of want to get to this talent here called Infused Blades, and you could either go down from left or right, but Stellar Amplification is better than Scattering Blades because this talent increases your chance to trigger Aspect of the Warden by 10%, but since Aspect of the Warden is dead aspect, in PvP at least, there is no point specking into this talent, and therefore this is the better option on the left side. Wrath of the Moon increases your arcane critical damage dealt by 20%, and Astral Blade doesn't actually do physical damage, it does arcane damage. This means this further scales with this talent, Wrath of the Moon, giving it 20% damage increase, and then from this already increased damage, this talent here then takes action and increases it further by 60%. But there is one more. Spirit of Vengeance makes it so whenever you fan of knives, it increases the damage of your Astral Blade by 30%. Stack this modifier, and with this modifier, and you might as well one-tap someone by just pressing Astral Blade if you simply crit. However, that is not the end of it as well, because Avatar of Vengeance grants you 25% more intellect. So popping this cooldown increases your damage, maybe not by 25% exactly, but it does grant a further damage increase because Astral Blade scales at maximum mana, and increasing your intellect by 25% thus increases the damage of Astral Blade. All of this leads you down the path of just buffing Astral Blade and hoping that Astral Blade either crits or catches a reset with infused blades. This sometimes can proc 3-4 times in a row, and when it does, you also kill someone really fast, especially when you have all these buffs running with Avatar of Vengeance and Spirits of Vengeance. Mind that Spirits of Vengeance do not fade after one usage of Astral Blade. You can Fan of Knives once and spam Astral Blade until the debuff runs out. Now, as for the right side of this tree, there's some increase to arcane damage again, 10%, which works well with your Astral Blade. Here's an important talent called Sentinel Glaive, a nice filler but also does quite alright damage, increases resource cost, but what's important about it is the talents down the line makes it so your Sentinel Glaive restores 20% of your maximum mana and applies a Scattered Star for free, and here it also reduces its cooldown, which is great. It's only a 10-second cooldown for an ability that is good. Warden Training reduces the cooldown of Warden's Blade by 25%, making this ability a 15-second cooldown instead of 20. It's a great thing, that means you can root pretty often. Aspect Master increased the effectiveness of your aspects by 20% and chance to trigger by 10. So this directly works with Aspect of the Cosmos, which usually has a 40% chance to trigger, now becomes a half-half chance. So every other swing you should theoretically be able to apply the slow and gain a Scattered Star. But it doesn't work always like that. Well, but at least it increases your chances. Warrior Fortune increases your haste by 5% and movement by 10%. A great talent. These two lead down into Pierce the Knight, which makes it so your Fan of Knives applies an additional stack of Scattered Star to each enemy struck. Fan of Knives by default would apply 1 Scattered Star. With this talent, you will apply 2. By applying 2 stars and pressing a Luna Lance once immediately, you will already chop off 4 seconds of Fan of Knives cooldown, making it only a 6-second cooldown. Having any more Scattered Stars, because you could very well proc some Scattered Stars by pressing Lunar Lance or pressing Fan of Knives or any other abilities really, you could make it so your Fan of Knives just resets immediately. So you Fan of Knives, Lunar Lance, Fan of Knives, Lunar Lance, like that. And you keep chaining that whenever you don't have your Astral Blade. As you understand, this spec is very reliant on chance to crit, on chance to reset. If you are not getting lucky, you aren't killing anyone, really. And this is a big drawback of the spec, is that you have not only to play really good to make the spec work, but you also have to get lucky. And this is what I hate about a spec like this in PvP, because essentially all other specs have consistent value. Fellsworns have their shields, Tinkers have insane permanent damage and permanent healing. Reapers have great bursts and opener abilities that aren't left up to chance and stuns. And we have a coin flip, a casino, a slot machine for a spec. However, when it does crit, when all the stars align, it can really delete someone. I will show you an example of that later in this guide. Now, let's move on to our rotation. Here I am in front of a target dummy, and I'm going to quickly showcase how to generally play this spec. First things first, as we have discussed during the talent section, is that applying your debuff, your Spirit of Vengeance debuff with Fan of Knives is most important thing before pressing Astral Blade. Usually you're going to start from range against most of the targets. When arena gates open up, you might not have the luxury of just running up to them. And it's also good to just surprise them from a relatively long distance. So you could open with an Avatar of Vengeance into Fan of Knives into Astral Blade. After you press Astral Blade, you have to see if you have caught a reset on the cooldown. If so, you press it again. If you haven't, you press Sentinel Glaive and then you press Lunar Lance. If the target survived and you don't they are not very low HP, and by low I mean below something like 20-15%, then you might as well benefit from making a retreat immediately. This is how it looks like, and let's see if we get any crits here in this test. Avatar of Vengeance, Fan of Knives, Astral Blade, Sentinel Glaive, Lunar Lance. Then you start kiting. To get away from your target, you will have to use your Warden's Blade to root them. You will have to also rely on your Hunter's Shots or other attacks to have applied some slow from the aspect of the cosmos to slow them. And you're going to just wait and line and kite until you have the combo reset. Once Astral Blade is off cooldown again, you can go for another Fan of Knives into Astral Blade into see if you get a reset and repeat it all over again. Keep doing this over and over and over again until you win in this casino. Once you win in this casino, you will destroy them. Unfortunately, not all specs will allow you to do this. They will stun you, they will slow you, they will silence you, chase you down, doing incredible amounts of damage. And this is where the quote-unquote skill in this class has to come in and carry you out of this bad position. You have to be able to actively pressing your instant abilities like Fan of Knives, Sentinel Glaive, and Lunar Lance to apply stars and spend them in order to apply some stacks of the cosmos. You have to be able to use Warden's Blade and root them, and while you're lining around a pillar, you should be casting Hand of Falun, and when you can't cast Hand of Falun, you should spend your lunar phases by casting Touch of Moonlight. Generally speaking, you will lose a straight up duel to almost or most of the specs actually if you are not getting lucky. This is why you will have to find yourself lining even against the casters until you have the goal ready. Fortunately for you again, your kit has multiple ways to help you breaking the gap between you and your target or closing it if the instance requires that. You have your sprint, the shooting star that we talked about in the talent section, which is a great freedom talent. And on top of that, you have a Hunter Saber, which is a 3-minute cooldown, but grants you freedom for 30 seconds and makes you move fast. These two things combined allow you to kite for a while, but not everybody still. Things like Tinker may be able to catch you anyway because they just do damage to you through pillars, through their summons or turrets or their beams and whatever, while also being immortal. I think I shall show some VODs from my arenas played pre-season and during this season, where I also have some more gear to show for the damage. Let's see, and I'll be commenting over it to showcase the thought process behind every action that I take in order to get to the victory. Against the Reaper, showcasing how generally the duel goes. In 95% of the times, you'll always lose to Reaper as long as he has at least 2 brain cells. But if he only has one, just one brain cell, you can win this duel. And this is how you do it. You will usually get sabbed and he will open and will be invisible while opening. Your first action should be to Aegis yourself, and in my case I Shadow Melt to buy myself another second of time to get him out of stealth. And immediately first action will be to root him in order to break some distance because I will need to heal. He has done so much damage to me within these few 3 or 4 seconds of time. I will cast some instant heals. I will try to kite him. I see that he breaks out of the root, so I pop the sprint, I run away, and try to cast Hand of Rune around the pillar, healing myself back. Next goal will be to slow him, apply some stacks of the slow. There we go, 1, 2 stacks. He vanishes out of that. I try to flare, he wasn't there. Now we wait for him to open. He does, fortunately, very fast. After that, I pop Vial of Moon Water immediately as he stuns me. It regens me, but he's doing so much damage that he is still killing me despite my regen. I'm going back down to 60%. I stun him in order to get some distance on him, apply some slow. I get 5, 6 stars, throw some Lunar Lances, get on Saber so I can keep reapplying the slow and cast while moving. Hunter shot. I get very lucky. I get down triple stack. Now my goal is to keep this triple stack as long as possible. Remain on Saber, shoot and shoot Lunar Lances back at him. Hand of Elune into Hunter shot to fish for more procs. There we go. There's the reslow. There come the Lunar Lances. Sentinel Glaive to fish for another reset on the slow. Another reset comes in. He removes all the slows from himself with one of his abilities and goes invisible again. I only have one trinket left. There comes out a copy of him with him as well on just down below. He does incredible damage. I was just 100% of life. I'm already back to 40% and I need to kite again. I also need to keep him in combat and make sure to fish for a slow. So in this case, some bug happens that makes him run back and forth like this, which is a bit unfortunate for me. And he reconnects, still does quite heavy damage. And I'm breaking distance again. I am very fortunate to catch 2 stacks of slow on him and a root. Now I have a little bit of time for myself to cast some more spells, and I choose to slow him as this is the highest priority in this case, to keep the slow because he will barely move and he as Reaper will struggle getting to me like that after he has spent all of his mobility, trinkets and other cooldowns. The way you beat a Reaper is more so on range than in melee. Here I'm trying to reapply the slow, however I see that I calculate here just roughly that this is enough HP for me to send my burst. And I see that I have a intellect proc for 2 more seconds. So if I press it real quick here, I might do some heavy damage. And I do. From 5000, he drops right down to 1k HP with a very fortunate crit and my F-Guard coming in. If I had Fan of Knives him before doing this, he would have actually just flat out died immediately. And here he does some heal. He becomes immune. I have to kite. I don't have finishing power. I don't have anything actually. Nothing works. He's just immune to everything. You have to run. And immunity slowly fades. Here it's over. And I need to just try to finish the duel. And I have enough damage to do this, hopefully. There we go. This one will be a duel against the Tinker, and this is during the season where I'm wearing much better gear, have more enchants and everything. This guy is playing the broken spec, and I'm pretty sure he knows how to bug abuse the passive healing of Tinker, making them practically immortal unless you do incredibly high instances of damage very fast. My game plan is to bait him into these pillars and fight him around here rather than up on the bridge because I need line of sight or rather break line of sight to survive against the Tinker and whatever and damage that he can bring. Their pet by the name of Scrapmaw is very high damaging pet as well as also having a stun with a what is 30 or 40 seconds cooldown or something, which is incredible and just busted. I don't know who thought up this. And in order to beat the Tinker, you actually have to kill Scrapmaw, but they can resummon Scrapmaw with something like a Hunter Pet Resurrection. Luckily though, you can kick it by using your taunt, which makes them run, or other CC like stun or knock. This duel is assumed to be a long one. We play safe, we Fan of Knives, Scrapmaw, we hit them with Glaive, hit them a little bit more Fan of Knives, resetting the cooldown by pressing Lunar Lance on him, pressing another Lunar Lance, caught a free proc of Astral Blade here by just doing this to this guy. And I could Astral Blade him at any point, pretty much one-shot Scrapmaw from here. I don't want the Tinker to heal Scrapmo by any means. Sometimes I may just intentionally get him low enough but not finish him. Um, Here we're going to do some more damage to Scrapmo, and I decide that I need to stop Tinker from building Scrapmo because he realizes that Scrapmo is very low and he's just gonna make himself a new one. The position of mine, however, is not very fortunate. I have to run forward, look for a blink. I taunt him, and I'm just in time to kick him from rebuilding Scrapmo. This means this guy remains at roughly 20% HP and is very killable at any point of time. Now we play the game. I do the Avatar of Vengeance after having applied the stacks with Fan of Knives. I do Astral Blade. Unfortunately, it doesn't create, only 1.2k damage. And this was just about my go. And now my goal is to calm down and to reset this game because I'm probably not going to kill him immediately. I drop down. By dropping down from second floor, I make all his pets lose line of sight of me and having to run around to get to me. Scrapmo is running, and this guy resummons Scrapmo instantly. I believe they have a talent for a 1 free resummon. I'm not sure about that. Some tinker will have to correct me. And now I'm doing the same thing again. I'm hitting Scrapmo, trying to bring him low. He's standing me behind pillar, applying my stacks, and there Tinker pops the turret or tank turret. He can be in this form almost infinitely if you let him have line of sight of you. Therefore, your best action is to actually LOS this guy. However, I had my Astral Blade off cooldown and I pressed it on him. It doesn't do enough damage because I didn't have Fan of Knives, which was bad by me. But my Avatar of Vengeance was running out, and I had choice between resetting the Fan of Knives by using my Lunar Lance on Scrapmo, or just sending it or sending Astral Blade on this Tinker. If I would have tried to reset my Fan of Knives and then Fan of Knives into Astral Blade, I might have not had enough time to make it and send this Astral Blade with increased damage. Therefore, I just roll this like that. It's not enough to kill him, so I have to stun and start kiting, heal myself, and I'm hitting Scrapmo again because Scrapmo has to die for me to have any sort of chance to win a Tinker. I kill him, fortunately. Now that Scrapmo is dead, there is no more stun to fear of. The guy is not in his mech, and he's pretty low mana. This is another thing about Tinkers. When they run out of mana, they struggle to regenerate it. And while you have, well, more or less infinite mana resource. So here I'm trying to get to him. This fucking turret is slowing me by itself, so I sprint through to get back on top of him. The reason I'm rushing in is to disallow him from summoning a Scrapmo, and also to create this mental pressure on him that I'm going in, that I'm doing damage here, that I'm trying to do something. He knocks me away with his mind, but I apply the stacks of Fan of Knives or Spirit of Vengeance with a Fan of Knives, allowing me to use Astral Blade from range, actually. And I throw a Lunar Lance at him right before he falls down, so it does some damage to him while he's down below. Now it's just about chasing him down, not allowing to resurrect Scrapmo, and just slowly whittling him down to the best of my ability. He goes into his turret, and this is where I would like to stay away. However, I'm doing quite high damage as I pressed Astral Blade, but it wasn't enough to kill him, and the broken Tinker passive heal will heal him up and through this damage, no matter how much I'm going to do. So therefore, I already need to retreat. Look at this. I was pumping damage as hard as I could, and he is going up in numbers on health bar. Healing myself and waiting for the cooldown on Astral Blade. Once it's ready, popping a Saber, pressing Astral Blade, doesn't do much, unfortunately, doesn't get any reset, no luck killing. But then I know that the next Astral Blade will be probably finishing one because he has very low mana, kinda low HP. I will have Avatar of Vengeance, Fan of Knives, and Astral Blade and everything, and I will do it, and I will kill him, even unless he dies before then, which is very unlikely. I still trying to be at highest HP as possible before descent. I still have 9 seconds to count down here. Trying to do some more chip damage pre-Fan of Knives in order to apply the debuff, make myself ready to go whenever I'm ready. Sending some more Lunar Lances, some more chip damage to keep his HP bar low. Otherwise, his passive healing will top him in no time. And here comes the Outer of Vengeance. We press Fan of Knives again, Avatar of Vengeance comes through, and then Astral Blade, he dies. The strategy is the same as with Barbarian or any other melee. You try to keep your range, you try to slow them, and you try to live slow and kite. Here I get a stun because I stun him because I see this ring, and I get slapped by it unfortunately, so I decide to trick it because I need to break the range, and I would not like for him to close the gap for free. I want him to use something to get back to me. My one stack of slow does proc. Unfortunately, Templars can just dispel it, so it's not very reliable. His steed is also, as I understand, faster than the saber. And when he steeds, I know this is time to take very heavy damage, and all I need here is to survive until the steed runs out, and then they're pretty stuck. So in this case, I'm trying to apply slows. If I'm lucky, I'm trying to apply the root when it's off the cooldown. Like right here, I root him for 8 seconds with a physical root. He cannot dispel himself out of this, even if he tries. Trying to run away, need to heal myself, trying to break some range. He does shrink it out of the root, I believe. And he's closing the gap, and this is getting very close and very dangerous. And there's very little I can do about this now because I don't have anything else that could just save me immediately, as my root is on cooldown and I cannot apply stacks of my slow reliably like the Felsworn could. So I'm just trying to cast heals, one casted, one instant heal, into a real quick Runa Lance to fish for some procs. No Cosmos procs. Unfortunately, throwing Sentinel Glaive, no proc either. But the horse has ended and he cannot catch up on me while I'm sabering away with 50% increased movement speed. This is very fortunate. Now I see he's running back to the pillar. And this is where I understand that healing myself is not the most important thing. It is important to try and apply a slow stack to DLE 3. I start shooting him immediately, and I'm even pushing in to fish for these stacks. Now I have 2 on him. And as you see, I Fan of Knives him, thus making him ready to send my burst damage on him. And this is where I pop Avatar of Vengeance, do Astral Blade. Unfortunately, Astral Blade doesn't crit, neither does it reset, and it does 1.3k damage. Very sad. Now I have to try to live till it gets off cooldown, unless he screws up and dies to random damage following after that anyway. Here come the stars, he heals himself to full, and now I'm running away because there's nothing I should be trying to do in melee other than applying the stack of slow. I try to Fan of Knives to see if I can get the stack of slow. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. The slow falls off, and now I'm in a bad position again. I have to root him and break some distance with him if I'm lucky to root. This was he brings me very low, and I'm very fortunate that I get away just enough to cast the Hand of Elune and regen, just enough HP to root him, just enough time to get away and cast some more heals. Here comes another Fan of Knives as Astral Blade is off cooldown. There's 5 seconds left on the avatar. That's all you need to press an Astral Blade. It doesn't reset, nor does it crit again. The lottery, the casino doesn't work. You have to survive. Or if you have some other methods to find some finishing damage, you do it. Here, Sentinel Glaive regens my 20% of mana at the time. Missing real hard here because I was completely but I have 6 stacks on him, and when I press Lunar Lance next, I know I will go back to full mana. And it will also do pretty high damage, and you can press Lunar Lance multiple times while you have the stacks active, dealing those more damage. But what's even better is pressing Fan of Knives, because while the stars are falling, you're applying more, and they keep falling and keep resetting cooldown on Fan of Knives, so maybe you can press it multiple times back to back like this. And here we're trying to finish him with just Fan of Knives and Lunar Lancing again. I taunt his cast, seeing that he's standing to cast, and my Sentinel Glaive comes off cooldown. We try to throw it, doesn't finish him, it's not enough damage. As you see, the damage is pretty low outside of Astral Blade. Fan of Knives again. Luckily though, he's so low that I can kill him with pretty much anything, and here I just roll in, try to finish him with the Lunar Lance again. You see the damage breakdown after this match. I did more healing and more damage than him, and this was a pre-season duel against a Templar. There is a few key aspects in this game that I think I should show that benefit the Starcaller. As always, you have to play line of sight, heal back the damage you're taking, see if you roll high on your crits or Astral Blade resets, In this case, I connect to him with the Blink from Avatar of Vengeance. I Fan of Knives him first, and then I press Astral Blade to see if I get lucky or kill him. I get rather lucky with critting, 2.6k damage, 1524 to follow up. This is all from just pressing one spell. It brings him quite low, but not low enough for me to finish. And he'll be able to recover from this very easily because he's playing an actually good class. And now I realize that I have no more finishing power. Going after him will be foolish. He will just dismantle me out in the open. I have to stay behind the pillar. This is what I do. I run away, start casting Hand of Elune while kiting. And I want to try to keep the 3 stacks of slow up on him. Unfortunately, I fail in doing this in this exact time. So I have to try to reapply them. There's 2 stacks. 2 stacks is pretty strong already. Shooting some Lunar Lances at him while kiting. I just had my reset. So I did the blink in with the Astral Blade. It did 1.5k damage roughly. It's absolutely not enough to do anything against him. He has 9000 HP. The casino doesn't casino. We're losing. So we're waiting now again until we have the cooldowns or the resets on Astral Blade. This is what you do. You stay behind pillar, play like this. They will be very angry with you. They will hate you for this. They'll curse you. They will do anything. And you just shoot the arrows. You see how I'm cheekily stopping for a second to shoot an auto shot like this to see if I can proc a star by connecting this auto shot, which I do. And now I can do a Lunar Lance and another auto shot. This auto shot doesn't proc a star or a slow stack. Another auto shot, and none of this procs another star. Unfortunate for me. Have to cast kite. He pushes in, which allows me to do a Fan of Knives into a Astral Blade as I'm going around the corner. As you see, the Astral Blade rolls high, does 2.5k damage, 1500 to follow up with all the talents. Still not enough to kill this guy. Does bring him into a threatening and dangerously low position. However, he will be able to recover from that as well because I don't really have finishing power, and risking running in and trying to do some melee damage might end up being bad for me instead, and I might not be able to run away in time if I do that. So I'm only shooting Lunar Lances from the safety of my pillar. When I see him changing the pillar, I take chase so he doesn't get to regen too much, so I can still chip him a little bit here. As long as I'm nearby LOS, I can take this risk by hitting him one more time and just breaking line of sight again, just around any of these corners here. Hit him with Fan of Knives, hit him with Sentinel Glaives, he pops some heal that just heals him like back to 80% or 70%. As you see, I won't have enough finishing power to kill him anyway, so now I have to play a bit cautiously, heal myself a little bit while he's triple slowed, lining around the pillar like this. And now I'm almost ready to go again, so I Fan of Knives him again to apply the Spirit of Vengeance debuff, do some stars, and now that he's running away, you need to double down and pressure him into this pillar. Usually you don't want to use your movement abilities to connect with targets running away from you that you usually should be running away from. However, it's relatively easy to run away from a barbarian because you can root them and they cannot break out from it, and you can therefore spend one of those cooldowns just like this and go in and persuade as long as he is playing up against the pillar, because the pillar is your advantage. The open space is your disadvantage in this case. Here I'm getting a triple stack on him. I also root him. It's very easy to connect. I have Avatar. I press it. I'm pressing Astral Blade. It doesn't reset, and he also dodges. This is the worst outcome of your casino. They just straight up dodge your Astral Blade. GG. You have to wait until it's over with the cooldown. I stun him here. Try to do some more chip damage. Apply some more stacks, and now I'm not taking chase because I know I don't have the damage to kill him anyway through his healing. I'm healing myself instead. As you see, he's just regenerating for no reason at all, just because he exists and he's such a cool class. I have to cast and spend mana here, and now he's running away, and I have to take chase. I don't have anything else but the saber, so I pop it, run forward, and I have my Astral Blade ready, but I'd want to close into Fan of Knives, so since I have popped the cooldown, I run face first into him, Fan of Knives, only then he dashes away, but I already have the debuff. I do Astral Blade, no crit, no reset, nothing. This means no win. This means we have to go back to the pillar and remain behind LOS, regen some. He kites me to the other pillar. A little bit unfortunate for me, but not too bad because I still have a lot of time left on the saber. I can actually run towards him while sabering, while healing. He's not smart enough to peek me here and start shooting me because he doesn't know how my class works and when is my weakest time. Now he's peeking me again, trying to do some damage. I'm just chipping him back, waiting for the cooldowns to come, waiting for him to close in as well for a Fan of Knives like this. Fan of Knives, here comes it. And I do an Astral Blade, which does nothing because there's no reset, there's no crit. Therefore, the damage is very low, and we're back to the resetting stage of the game where we just run and heal until it's ready again. Never try to stand and trade shots with the Barbarian in general. One quick auto shot is fine. Casting Hunter Shot is a bit bad because he's doing way more damage on range like that. Applying all his bleeds, applying all his slows on you, and just pushing in. Here's close to the gap. I almost have Altar of Vengeance ready. So we're going to try to do the burst combo soon again and see if I can kill him this time. Spending some stars to regen some mana. There is a Fan of Knives. We are ready. We are pressing Avatar of Vengeance, pressing Astral Blade here. It does damage, but it doesn't do high enough damage. However, it does reset its own cooldown. Therefore, I can press it again. This is a bit fortunate. I press it again. Doesn't do enough damage, but it resets again. Press it again. Still does very low damage because he probably pressed some of his defensive abilities here because it's just doing 600 damage. There's nothing you could have said against him here. And now we are just back to the resetting stage of the game where we just run and hide and heal ourselves and just wait it out. And here he's trying to run away. I try to Fan of Knives him in order to reapply the triple stack slow. He dodges and it gives me no stacks, nothing. I have to line. Try to catch a small quick reset on him with Lunar Lance. Gets my Fan of Knives cooldown back to almost 0. And I'm ready to go. Blink in. Blink in. I used Astral Blade before using Fan of Knives. Very unfortunate. Was too hasty. Should have Fan of Knife first. Here he kites away. I Shadow Melt into mount up immediately in order to take chase. Run up into close range. Hit him with the Warden's Blade. Hit him with the Lunar Lances from afar. And I'm still giving chase. I can now though kill him if I just catch a crit. So this is what we're going to try to do here. We Fan of Knife. We apply the debuff. We have 5 stacks. We have Astral Blade ready. We press it. It doesn't crit. Only 1.3k damage. Very low. Very sad. I do still have 6 stacks of Lunar Lance, so I can press it a few times while chasing him. As you see, it's doing respectable damage. 795 a crit. Well, it's not very high, but it's something. Sentinel Glaive does very low damage. Fan of Knives again. Reapply some stacks. And Lunar Lance will probably kill him here. Right, I hope this guide was helpful for those of you trying to learn how to PP as a Warden Starcaller. I'm not sure if I will be sticking around playing this game myself because I don't really enjoy how the balance, how the classes work, how this particular class work. I only came here because of the Warden fantasy itself, because I've recently gotten a lot into like learning about lore and all these things, and I really interest myself with wardens themselves as Night Elven enforcers. Good luck pushing ladder, 2v2, 1v1, or just playing BGs. Hope you enjoy, and let's pray your casino rolls very high and good.